So I want to tell you about a big aha moment that I had. I used to believe, like growing up and early in my career, that uh, there was basically you just do what you're told, right? You get into the system, you work away, you just keep your head down. Figured keep my head down, just work, get the money in. That's all it's about. And there's no room for innovation. There's no room for chasing your passion. There's no room for chasing your dream or pursuing it. And that's just how the world works, right? But I discovered that that is not true and that I was wrong. And I'm going to tell you about that here today. So, hello, I am Owen. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you will subscribe, please, and also join the Abundance Hackers Facebook group. I am putting the link in the chat right now. So go ahead and join up. We'd love to have you. I met a man who changed my life. I had been in a rut for a number of years. I was used to work in the corporate world. I was in multiple places in the entertainment industry, and just generally, right, feeling like is this it, right? Like just driving back and forth to work every day, and I sort of wanted more. I wanted more, so that's when I left the corporate world to start my own business. And I was very excited about that, but then started to realize that uh, years down the line, so many things that I was doing in my own business were actually just mirroring what my life was like in the corporate world. Like, for instance, like this is just a weird example, but we always used Outlook in the office, and I kept using it for years, even though there's such easier ways to use email. Like, I just believed that working meant dealing with a ton of emails all the time just to be doing it and having a program dedicated to just reading emails. And so I got into the situation. I'm like, oh, I realized that I had really just created the same exact situation for myself. That instead of having a boss, I had now taken on certain clients that basically mirrored what I had been doing before. I was still again in a situation where I wasn't feeling like I was really pursuing what it is that I wanted to do, or chasing my passion, really, or getting connected with my passion at all. And I believe that this is what it was, that work was supposed to be work. It's not supposed to be fun. You're not supposed to enjoy it. It's that really nasty, unpleasant thing that you have to do to get the money in to pay the bills and things like that. So, I just had this thing in my head that, there was no way that I could actually enjoy fully what it is that I was doing. But so a couple years ago, I was talking to a couple friends. Uh, oh, hey, Richmond, how are you? Thank you, Richmond. I appreciate it. I don't think we're going to be getting together anytime soon, unfortunately, but we should talk. So I was talking with some friends a couple years ago, and a couple of them were just like absolutely killing it. They were basically doing their dream jobs. They were working at their dreams. They were constantly starting like new businesses along the lines of what it is that they wanted to do in various different areas. I'm like, how are they doing this? And I am missing it. Like, is it because I don't have a connection into certain worlds, access to certain resources? I realize that no, it's all a complete mindset situation, right? And this led me to joining a community where I learned about the concept of that you can get what you want or you can get what you get. There is a big difference, right? I was definitely somebody who was getting what I got. I didn't, I sort of just figured like, okay, whatever came my way, that was it. Be grateful for it. I have no agency whatsoever over my future or my life or where I'm headed, and that this is it. And that's getting what you get. Getting what you want is about picking, about choosing what it is that you want, actually coming up with something and deciding it, and getting that for yourself. But we'll get to that in a sec. So when I was in the spot of like getting what I got, it's kind of like the analogy of the frog in a boiling pot of water, is that the water keeps heating up and the frog doesn't realize it until it is too late. The frog doesn't notice that the water is boiling until it is too late and the frog dies in the water. And getting what you get is very similar to that. I didn't notice around me just how many things in my life were going just not the way I wanted. And it was sort of getting worse and worse and worse and worse. The longer I didn't believe that I had any control over what I could get in my life or what I would want in my life. So if there's anything in your life where you feel yourself just saying like, oh, well, that's just the way it is. I mean, now granted, certain things are the way they are. Like the sun rises in the east. That is the way it is. But if there are things in your life that you don't like doing and you do it just like, oh, because that's just how it is. Like I was saying how I felt about my job. Oh, you just go do that because that's how it is. That's where you're getting what you get instead of getting what you want. That is something that can change in your life. Take a look at like my job, right? Like there's many other ways to make money, but I had gotten attached to the one particular lane and thinking that that was how it had to do. So it's all about opening your mind, right? Understanding the new possibilities in front of you about being an abundance hacker, as it were. So the flip side of this, right, is that freedom isn't free. When I tell you you can do whatever you want, it's kind of a thought, right? It's almost a feeling of less freedom in having complete and total freedom. I get it. Like, it's the same idea of walking up to a blank sheet of paper or that blinking cursor syndrome when you're sitting down to write something. When there's just a blank page and you put whatever you want in it, suddenly I know sometimes I feel like, wow, what do I even put here? What do I even do, right? So how do you find your way through this total freedom that you have, that we all have, and that may have been filled as it was for me with things that you are just how it is, things that you're not really wild about doing, but you feel like you have to do. So you get through, it requires an intention. It requires that you must choose, I want this in my life. I want my life to be a certain way. This is how you design your life, right? To design is a proactive action, right? Getting what you get is very passive. You are reactive to what is happening around you. But to design your life, and you must be proactive. You must be proactive and picking an intention, right? You pick a lane. To do that, you have to be also brave enough to dream. You have to have the confidence in yourself to know that what you dream of, what you are connected to, what you feel amazing about, you're entitled to. And that it is okay for you to consider it. I'm not saying to throw all caution to the wind and put yourself at risk and your family at risk. Although I am saying to take risks, right? By making these dreams, by thinking about these things, it is important to consider it so that you can make your intention moving forward. And it requires commitment. This is probably the biggest thing that most people fall off on. Designing your life is possible, but it requires commitment and it requires consistency. A lot of times it's just easier to, for me when I was an employee, like I didn't have to worry about a lot of extra stuff. It's like, okay, my life was simpler perhaps. I can just get out of bed, drive to work, and then come home and then do it all over and over and over and over again. Well, that's the trade-off. That was the trade-off for me, not putting in some consistent work to do something that I actually wanted to do at the time. So freedom isn't free, but it is amazing. So I highly recommend it. I have reinvented myself many, many times before. I know it can be done. I know that you can as well. Richmond, nothing is absolute. We create things the way it is by our will, which is determined by events out of our control, but can be traced. Our will, well, I don't agree that our will is determined by events out of our control. I think that we control our will. We absolutely control our will, and we can choose how we react to the events that happen to us. And that's what it is. That's what designing your life is about. That's what this is all about. Is instead of being reactive to the events and letting events shape our will, using our will to shape events. Yes, there are things that we can't control in our life, like there's a big one right now, right? But we can all control how we are seeing it and how we're reacting to it. Like some people's will in this situation right now is to kind of collapse, to kind of give in, and to let it affect them and stop them. But for me, my will is to recognize the opportunity in this. Richmond, absolutely, I believe in free will. That is the core belief. I absolutely believe in free will. Well, we'll discuss this a little further. In fact, if you want to know more about that actually, and discovering your free will and connecting to it, then I highly recommend you go to owenjward.com right now and get your free copy of my ebook, How to Unlock and Unleash Your Superpower. We'll teach you exactly how to do this. So I'll chat more with you about this, Richmond. We'll chat here in the comments. But thank you so much for stopping by, and thank you for stopping by. I will talk to you tomorrow.